What's up, everybody? This is Lakesha Woods from Enjoy Life magazine, and today I have with me Latise M.Howie. She is the author of the Chronicles, Elevator Silence. Hi, Latise.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me and to share information about your book and what you have going on in your career as an author. But more than anything, I'd really like to get into the book and what prompted you to write a book with the concept of waiting and being celibate and
Oh, that's easy. I was prompted to do this by my own life, honestly, and by other people that I know who are living or trying to live a celibate lifestyle, and not necessarily a celibate lifestyle, but we are people of faith, but we're also single people, and living in the world that we live in, it's really easy to kind of get sucked into, the desires of the flesh and that sort of thing. And for me, the choice was easy. I'm divorced. I have 3 children, and I've tried it every way. I just wanted to try it, God's way, and to just kind of walk in that particular faith that I can be disciplined for Him in that way, but I can tell you the focus that you receive is the biggest motivator, and it's a struggle. I will say that because I'm a woman. I'm a relatively young woman, and just dating and that sort of thing, it can be a struggle. But for the last 3 years, that's something that I have been trying to practice and just, trying to walk the best that I can in that way. So with writing the book, there were scenarios that may have happened in my life or other people's lives that I know. And I just wanted to be able to touch on some of those things and, kind of expound on them. And what's beautiful about being an author is you can take a bit of something and then just fly in a whole different direction because, it's the use of your imagination if that's what you choose to do. And so that was the motivation. And then just to be able to help women and single people in general know that we do have a still small voice that we can listen to and be guided by and, walk the best way that we can. So, yeah, that was the motivation.
Wow, and it definitely rings true for a lot of people. The walk, just the effort that it takes to condition your mind to say, hey, I'm going to do this. But then there is the motive behind why you're doing it. And as I've been reading the book, and without giving away the storyline, because I do want our readers to pick up a copy for themselves and read it. But I was reading how, one character in particular was continuing to tell herself that I'm doing this for God. I'm doing it for God, and trying to convince herself that basically I'm doing this so I can be faithful to my commitment to God, my vow to God. But in essence, she was truly really not reserving herself because she was still trying to find other ways to satisfy her sexual desires. And I think a lot of us get that confused. So, in your opinion, is there truly only one way to remain celibate? Do you have to cut off all other aspects of sex in order to really say I'm practicing celibacy?
Well, I can tell you that the first year was probably the hardest, and honestly, for every individual that I know who we have these conversations with regard to celibacy and just that particular discipline. I was very much into, the toys and that sort of thing. But I had to get rid of that stuff because I felt like I was still kind of not focused on what I felt like I needed to be focused on. I think that you have to define that for yourself. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't believe that that's for me to say to an individual, your celibacy and your commitment and your walk has to be specific to what you would have it be, and for whatever the reason, because that same character had to look at her life and figure out, why am I doing this? Am I doing it for show and fashion? Am I doing this because I really truly want to be disciplined? Do I need focus? And that's something that a couple of my girlfriends and I, we were sitting down and we were talking about the book, and as the book was developing, and that was one of the things where I had to look at. I don't want to just say that I'm celibate for the sake of saying it. You know, I need to be walking and practicing and living that way because it's something that I truly want to do, but not because it's something that people at this point expect of me, because I'm a human being. I fall, you know what I mean?
Right.
I have been weak. I won't openly admit that, but I think it's a situation where you have to, rededicate yourself and define what it is for you. And so I say that I live in a judgment-free zone in my life, you know?
That's great.
You know, if someone talks to me about their particular situation, you know that you can talk to me, and I'm never going to judge you, because I feel like it's for the grace of God go any of us, right? We have no idea what situation we will find ourselves in. But I think that is a personal decision. For me, I found that I just have to remain focused, and so if I deviate out of that particular realm, it's ineffective for me.
Right.
So, but it may not be, ineffective for Lakesha, or it may not be ineffective for Susie. She may be able to, indulge in certain activities and continue to still see herself as celibate or himself,
right.
But I do think that, for me, my personal thing was, I had to be able to be disciplined and cut that off. I will say that I was very fortunate to be in a long-term relationship with a man who was also celibate. And so there, we were able to, from the beginning, know that there were lines that we just were not going to cross.
Right.
Because we had discussed that up front. Now, is that difficult to find? Absolutely.
Right.
It's absolutely, it's hard to find that, because I say that I've gone on a lot of first dates,
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to say to someone that you are celibate, and they know that there's a very slim chance that you're going to be sleeping with them, and for them that could possibly be the end result that they're looking for, then that's the first date. They don't want to go any further. They don't want to, try to even work that situation out. So, the long answer to that is it is definitely a personal choice, a personal walk as to how you define that.
Right, and that is that's really true. It is a personal walk. In my opinion, it's true. It rings true to me, because I've actually attempted to have a walk and a journey with practicing celibacy several times in my adult life. I was a teen parent, and I got married early, divorced early, and for the longest time, after having that moment of realization, after realizing I'm single now, I'm not married anymore, I'm still young, I should go out and start dating, I had a rude awakening, and I realized that I really didn't know how to date. I want to talk a little bit about the characters in the book, and again, without really giving away the storyline, but you do a lot of flashbacks. I noticed that in your writing. You do a lot of flashbacks, which I like that. I like having that that background insight on the characters, because it really does build a lot of description on them, and it allows me as the reader to see, where they come from, what their mindset kind of was like, and how they got to that place. But I want to say that, it seems like Mari is going through, from where I'm at right now in the book, it seems like Mari is the one that's going through the most. What can you say about relationships that are with people who are supposed to be, or I love to use the word limelight, because it just makes it puts me in a position to imagine people being on the front or on the main line. These are people that everybody knows these people, the person in the church, the secretary of the church, or the deacon in the church, or maybe celebrities. But so I say that they're sort of in the limelight. She wants to have a talk show. He's doing something in the church, and he's well known in the church, and they're supposed to be like these upstanding people. But what would you say to women who may be going through similar, because it really seems like everything that she's going through, like her self-esteem was really so low at this point to continue on with this relationship with somebody, just to it just kind of seems messy. It's like really messy, and I'm trying to find my words so I won't give away the storyline. But I got to tell you guys, get the book, because there is a pow. There is a pow, bang, and a boom in there that's going to make you really say, wow, I can't believe this happened, or wow, I can't believe that happened, or really? So get the book, because then you'll understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. So, but what could you say? What would your advice be to women that may be in a situation like that?
My advice to women who are in relationship like the one that Mari is in. Mari is clearly in an unhealthy situation, right? She is dealing with this man who really doesn't know who he is, as a man, let alone as a man in Christ. He has no idea, but he's just living, this fallacy of a life. My advice to any woman is to know yourself first. Know yourself first. Know what your limitations are. Know what you will and will not accept. And then decide that you're important enough to demand those things. That's first. Second, you have to be okay with the loneliness that's going to come. You have to know that there are going to be a lot of them, that you are going to be by yourself. And I say this, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Truly, when you wake up in the morning, things are different. I found that, just being single, there's some, I have children, I keep saying, but everybody that is for me, they're not for my children, right?
Right.
I can't have somebody just waking up in my bed just because I don't want to be lonely, right? I have to consider that I'm a mother, and I'm a woman who should demand, that type of respect. Is it difficult? Absolutely. Because the power of touch is an amazing thing, is it not?
Yes.
The connectivity that you have with an individual, that skin to skin contact, that is an amazing thing. But God designed it that way,
Right.
But you have to know as a woman that at the end of the day, if you can know yourself, love on yourself, and accept who you are truly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Look at yourself in the mirror and be able to tell yourself the truth about who you actually are. That's the most freeing thing in the world to do. I didn't do it until a couple of years ago. To look at myself and really say, girl, you a mess. This going on.
Right.
Seriously. And, you have this going on, that going on. You've got to get yourself to a place where you love on yourself regardless of the mess that you are, right?
That is
true. And then once you do that, you know, that man is going to come. That relationship is going to come, but you have to be comfortable in that lonely place, you know. Stop jumping from relationship to relationship, because what you're really looking for is acceptance and love. But until you do that to yourself, you know, accept yourself and love yourself, you will never find it, you know, in another individual, you know. And so my advice is, if you already know that the relationship is bad. You know that the relationship is not good for you. We just justify it in our own mind. You know, it's destined to end, right?
That's
but
true.
We justify staying in a detrimental situation. And it doesn't have to be detrimental physically, but emotionally it's going to be detrimental to you. You know, if you don't, you know, you keep yourself in the wilderness for longer than what is necessary, because we don't listen to that still small voice that's inside of all of us. And I'm so glad we were able to talk about that, because that's why the still small voice is so important in the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The reason you asking me that question brings me to, you know, God gave us that. You know, it's inside of every last one of us. And so that still small voice has already told you that this is not going to work.
That's true.
But you keep yourself, you know, in that place, you know, in the wilderness for 40 years when you don't have to be, you know.
Exactly.
So, right. So when you decide that I'm worth it, you know, enough to accept myself fully, you know, flaws and all, and love on myself fully, flaws and all, accept every part of yourself, then you will be surprised about the move in your life, and you know, bring the people around you who will have you in a place where you feel comforted when you're lonely. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship. You can build wonderful friendships with people who are like-minded individuals, and who will keep you, you know, in a happier place. But that would be my advice. You know, and I hope it's helpful to someone.
I hope so as well. It was really great advice, and I do share a lot of those same sentiments, because I honestly feel that until you're able to walk in the truth and totally look at yourself and say, hey, this is who I am, you'll never be comfortable enough to reveal your true self to anyone else. If you can't even accept who you are for yourself, how can you explain to someone else, hey, this is who I am. You know, this is what my life entails. You won't. You'll cover up things. You'll hide things. You'll hide those secret fetishes, those secret desires, or those bad habits that you may have. You'll hide those things. But one thing that I always tell people is that the truth will always find a way to come out. So it's and I say it in a funny little way. Hey, let it all hang out, because if they don't like what you show them, then somebody else, you know, they'll leave, and that'll make room for somebody else who will, or for the people who will like what you've shown them and who can appreciate what you've shown them. And sometimes you have to just let it all hang out for yourself, so you can do a self-evaluation and say, hey, that's kind of crazy what you're doing, you know, or you're doing the same thing that you were doing 10 years ago. When is it going to stop? Why have you not grown? It's time to get it together. But until we really address those things, we can't. And even so with the character, and I want to have you actually pronounce the name of the character whose name starts with a T, because if anybody's kind of like me, they might have had a little hard time figuring out what her name is. So could you Twyla. Okay. And Twyla is a very interesting character as well, but she's comes across as the, you know, homegrown, loving mother, the traditional wife type, the one that's, you know, home doing things with the family, taking care of the household while her husband is out, and she's, you know, expecting him to be all that a good husband is supposed to be. So let's get a little description from your own, you know, in your own words, as to this character and her situation.
Twyla is like so many married women that I know. So many women from the town that I grew up in, Concord, North Carolina, is where I grew up. And, you know, I think that I've seen a lot of women who are just like her, right? In my family, you know, I have really good friends that this character represents. You know, I've been married, so I understand this particular character. Twyla takes care of everybody. She is the caretaker of her home. She volunteers at her church. She's, you know, going on field trips with the kids. She's taking care of everybody except for Twyla. She has let herself go, you know, and I can tell you that there are so many women that go, wow, I've done that. You know, I've been in, you know, doing all this stuff for everybody else because we are nurturers as women. We are, you know, caretakers of, you know, of people. That's just kind of how God designed us. But we do so much for other people that we sometimes forget to take care of ourselves. You know, she had children and she decided that she was going to let her kids be the excuse for not keeping herself, you know, in shape and healthy. Not necessarily skinny, but healthy, you know, healthy in mind, body, and spirit, totally, right? And so she represents that woman, that homemaker who is integral to you know, the pattern of our lives and our families and our communities. But we often forget about this particular woman because she's given up the career. You know, she's given up all those things that we feel like we've fought so hard to become as women over the last, you know, 50, 60 years, right? Twyla represents that woman who has, you know, kind of stepped away from that and decided that the home is most important. You know, and one day she just has a thing that happens.
A revelation. A wake-up call.
Exactly. Most of us have had slap you in the face wake-up call.
Right?